Hey gang, Jerry here, and today's video we're going to do another build series video on our 35 hot rod truck here. And today's video is going to be about the steering and what we've done so far to the steering to get the vehicle to this point. Is basically right now kind of like in a rolling chassis, but first I want to show you the steering column that we went with. The steering column that we went with was the chrome steering column with the tilt option that Factory 5 offers. It obviously just bolts, two locations where it bolts up to underneath the brake box here. Very simple to bolt in, and then we start attaching our steering shafts, and you can see one steering shaft on a knuckle there. And then as you come out around the vehicle over here, you can see that we're going with the electric steering option. So we have our steering shaft coming down to our electric steering gear, and then a couple of joints into our rack. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're doing electric steering like we're doing, Factory 5 will send you just the eye shafts for the manual shaft, manual type steering. If you're doing the electric steering, the eye shafts are going to be shorter, so you're going to have to cut those down. And I just used a die grinder with a cutoff wheel to cut those down. You could use a Sawzall or a couple of those things, other options to cut them down, but just be aware that you're going to have to cut those shafts down in order to fit. Now, the manual does tell you what length to cut them down. It's not a problem. I just used, again, a cutoff wheel and then cleaned it up on my grinder, and cut it proud, and then just on the grinder got it to the exact length that they call out in the manual. So no big deal, but just something to be aware of. Another thing to be aware of when you're installing your rack, so the rack, if you want to come over here, when you saw your rack, you're installing it on the lower bolt locations because we're going to have the higher ride height. But in order to do that, there's going to be an interference right here with this bracket. And now, again, Factory 5 does tell you that you're going to this position, you're going to have to cut this bracket off in this location right here. And again, just a cutoff wheel I used right here to cut this bracket off to give me the clearance for the steering rack. So again, something else just to keep in mind when you're doing the steering. But all in all, the rest of it went together really smoothly. I really can't say I ran into too many issues. One more thing I do want to point out though is right here. You can see on here, most of the steering knuckles have a lock nut here, so a set screw and a lock nut. But because this gear is so close to the firewall here, they send you a little set screw, and I really don't call it out too well in the manual, but you're going to have to look for this little set screw. And when you put that in, you put it in with a little bit of Loctite to lock it in place, and that way it won't interfere with your bearing here for your steering. So one more thing, just kind of keep in mind, the pay attention to when you're doing your steering. But the rest of it is all pretty straightforward. We won't do the wiring until we're doing the whole chassis wiring at that point. So the manual does say kind of hold off on the rest of the wiring for the steering gear until you're wiring up the whole vehicle. So not too bad. Pretty smooth so far, no major hurdles. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, we're going to do the whole build start to finish. So please subscribe to the channel and make sure to share. I'd really appreciate it. So that's going to be it for this one, gang. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. All right, gang, take care and see ya.